Lately I've been craving long days out in the Scottish Highlands. Nothing but me, the trail, mountains, big skies and nature. I used to go to the mountains all the time. It's the whole reason I moved here. But lately I've been busy with other things and feeling disconnected from the things that matter most. So I came up with a plan. I would pack a bag and catch a series of buses from my home in Fort William to Dalwhinnie, a village on the edge of the Cairngorms National Park. Over the next 3 days I would run 50 miles back home along an ancient trail known as the Thieves Road. I love the idea of getting a bus somewhere far away and making it back under my own steam. This is seriously remote terrain, so I'll be carrying everything I need on my back. I'll be taking water from streams and staying in these things, bothies. They're simple mountain huts available for anyone needing shelter for the night. It's a lot of ground to cover, so I'll be fast packing, sort of like backpacking meets trail running. Fast packing lets me cover extra miles by running the easier sections and hiking the rough stuff. With a loaded pack, it's not much more than a shuffle, but it gets the job done. I'll be putting in big days, but I've left enough time to enjoy the simple pleasures of being on the trail. I want to get back to my old self, and a trip like this is just what I needed. But as I got off the bus, I was feeling apprehensive. Would I be able to look after myself and make my way back home, or would it all prove to be too much? So I've just arrived in Dalwhinnie for day one of what is going to be a 3-day adventure. I'm about to head into some remote mountain territory, cross over a mountain pass and then spend the night at a bothy in a remote location with a questionable history, but a bit more about that later. But first I need to cover several miles along this beautiful loch, which is Loch Ericht. There's a lot of miles to cover, so we better get going. Okay, I've covered about 6 miles along the loch here. Bit of a shuffle, but it got us there. And now I've arrived at Ben Alder Lodge, which is this fancy looking building here. So it's at this point we deviate away from the loch and we start heading inland towards the mountains. I've just come across this map and it actually nicely illustrates the route that I'm going to be doing. So I started up here in Dalwhinnie and I've come along Loch Ericht and then we turn across here past Ben Alder. I'm going to stay here tonight and then there's a main path along here which I'll follow along Loch Ossian to Carrera Station and then move on from there to a second bothy which is round about here. Stay there a second night and then continue on past Ben Nevis and all the way back to Fort William. Now that I've left the loch behind and come inland, you can really start to feel the remoteness. I've come 8 miles from the road and there's just nothing out here, but I've got my first proper view of Ben Alder over there in the distance. There can be a lot of ticks around, so I'm going to give my legs a good spray. Okay, I've been going for 3 hours 40 and I've covered nearly 11 miles. I'm starting to get quite tired now, so I'm going to fill up on water because I'm out of water and just take a little bit of a break because I've got quite a big hike coming up behind me. but I've just stopped off here because there's something I want to just investigate a little bit. So this is what I wanted to come and check out. This is the site of a former bothy, which was called Coolra. The bothy stood here for a long time, but unfortunately it was found to contain asbestos and it was condemned, although the building still stood here for a number of years after. But eventually it was decided to demolish the bothy, which is now, as you can see, taking place. And then the plan is to build a replacement. I'm not sure if it's in exactly this site or somewhere nearby. And apparently there should be a new bothy here by the end of this year. So I'm staying in a bothy tonight. Obviously it won't be this one. My bothy is on the other side of those mountains there. I need to get over the Bealach, which is a Scottish word for a low pass over the mountains. And then on the other side, we'll drop down and will be my bothy for the night. So I've got quite a steep climb ahead and I better get cracked on. So this big bulky mountain here is Ben Alder, and where I'm going to be aiming for is just over to the side here. There's a little pass just behind there that I'm aiming for right now. As I've been climbing here, the mountain's just revealing itself to me. I think that nub over there is still part of Ben Alder, so I think the Bealach that I'm aiming for is to the left of that. I hope so anyway, because all these crags look quite intimidating. I'm by this loching, which is up in the mountains, and it's completely peaceful. The only thing I can hear is water. So it's been a really nice walk along this loching. Bit of a rough path, but I'm almost at the Bealach now, where I just need to climb over, and that'll be all the ascent done for today. I just wanted to say a couple of things about this trip. So I've been planning this trip for a while, maybe a month or more, and I've kind of postponed it a couple of times at the last minute, sometimes due to weather, but I've had quite a lot of nervousness about coming out because it's quite a committing and remote location. I was last here in 2022 when I was climbing the Munros here, Ben Alder and the other 5. I did them all in a really big day, and that was when I was climbing all the Munros. So if you don't know, a Munro is a mountain in Scotland over 3,000 feet. There's 282 of them, and I went on to complete the Munros in 2024. But since then I haven't been out in the hills as much, and I've been focusing on other things. I've been doing a lot of running, and then last year, 2025, I had a bad fall when I was out running on Ben Nevis and broke my wrist, and it later transpired I broke my neck as well, one of the vertebrae in my neck. And also recently there's been quite a lot of stories in the news about hill walkers going missing and sometimes losing their lives. Just in the last week there's been 2 people in the news who have gone missing in mountains that I've climbed in Scotland and later been found sadly dead. And I think a combination of those things has just kind of got into my head a little bit, and I felt quite apprehensive about coming out today. Being out in the hills, kind of a confidence game really. Like, the more you do it, the more you get used to it. And when I was out Munro bagging every weekend, I thought nothing of it. You know, I would just go out and do whatever I wanted to do. But yeah, a combination of my accident and the news that I've been hearing and not being out in the hills very much. I suppose if you felt that way, like you've been nervous to go out or knocked your confidence a little bit, I get it. I think the best antidote is to just be out, get back on the horse, and just it. The horizon's just opened up as I've come over the pass. a really beautiful night. There's a single deer over there just surveying the landscape. After 17 miles, I finally arrived at Ben Alder Cottage, which is a bothy on the shores of Loch Ericht. Bothies are simple shelters that are kept unlocked for passing visitors to take a break or spend the night in. This bothy was built in 1871 and it has quite a storied history. It was last inhabited around 1918 by a deer forester called Joseph McCook, who lived in this isolated place for 40 years. Many people believe this bothy is haunted, and there are tales of poltergeists and unexplained activity. I was mostly glad of a place to wash up, make some food, and get a comfortable night's sleep after a long day on my feet. Okay, good morning. It's day 2 on the trip. Had a really nice night in Ben Alder Cottage, which is on a beautiful location, and feeling well rested today. I think yesterday was a little bit hectic, but had a good night's sleep and I'm back on the trail. So today is going to be a big day, about 20 miles, and we're going to be heading into some seriously remote territory. We're going to be running alongside a really scenic loch, having lunch at Britain's highest railway station, and then continuing on to another bothy in a really spectacular location. But first of all, I just need to rejoin the main path. So yesterday when I came over the Bealach there, I diverged from the main route that runs through from Dalwhinnie to Cairngorms, where we're in today, and I'm just hacking across underneath the face of Ben Alder here to rejoin the main path. Okay, I've been going for a little while, so I thought I'd just check in. I've done about 5 miles, been going for 2 hours, and I've now rejoined the main path. But it's not really runnable at this stage, so I thought I'd just tell you a little bit about the route. So what I'm on just now is called the Thieves Road. It runs from Dalwhinnie in the east to Fort William in the west. A long time ago, people would rustle cattle in Badenoch and Strathspey in the east, and then they would drive the cattle along this road to Lochaber in the west, where they would then sell the stolen cattle. And that's why this became known as the Thieves Road. So a couple of other interesting facts relating to that. So the term blackmail comes from when cattle thieves would threaten cattle owners, and that was known as blackmail. They would threaten to steal their property if they didn't give them payments, sort of like a protection racket. And the Black Watch was formed in part to monitor that practice in the east and stop it. So there's a lot of history on this route. I have to say there's nothing out here today, no cattle, no thieves as far as I can tell, and honestly not much of a road either. I've been kind of hacking my way through some pretty boggy stuff next to the river. Just need to jump over a bit here. But I'm hoping that soon this will turn into a path, and then I'll be heading down to Loch Ossian. Okay, I've made it back onto firm ground now after some pretty rough going along the river there. I can see Loch Ossian. It's looking beautiful in the sunshine. It's a gorgeous day. My next little problem is I want to get down to the station house at Cairngorms for lunch, and they stopped serving at about 2:30. It's 12 o'clock now, and it's about 10k or 6 miles. So I'm hoping that the terrain from now on will be fairly runnable. I'll just get a little jog going and hopefully get down there for a bite to eat. I have planned my calories on the basis that I'll be having a big lunch here. So if I were to miss it, that would be a bit of a problem. And I would have to take stock of what I've got and figure out if I can make it to the end of the trip. But I'll need to put the camera away and just get moving so that I can get there in plenty of time. I can see the station house in the distance. I've got an hour and 40 minutes to get over there. Should be okay. This must be the nicest view from a toilet window I've ever seen. That stop was just what I needed. Burger was really good, and it was nice to just get my shoes off and rest my feet a little bit. I'm starting to feel the miles a little bit now, so I'm just going to take it easy on this next section. I'm heading towards the Bothy for tonight, which is about 7 miles away. But the first port of call will be Loch Treig. It's a lovely day, it's quite warm. Not going to force running too much. I'll run when I feel like it, and if I just want to hike, I'll just hike. And that's the nice thing about these fast packing trips. There's no real pressure to stick to a timetable or do it in any particular way. It's just as you feel like it. I was a little bit stressed about missing lunch, but with that done now, there's really no more time pressure today, so we're just going to enjoy the scenery. It's a stunning day out in the Highlands. Just a quick word about the station there. I was at Cairngorms, so it's known as the most remote railway station in the UK. It's also the highest in the UK. There's no access by road, and it's the jumping off point for quite a few hills in the area. There's 3 Munros around Loch Ossian, the loch that I was running along earlier. So those are a really special part of any Munro bagger's journey, because you get the train to Cairngorms and then you can just take in a circuit of the hills around the loch. It's also, if you've seen the film Trainspotting, it's the station that they get off at and go to climb a hill, which is actually this one behind me here. That's a Corbett. I haven't climbed that one yet, but for the record, it's great being Scottish. But I'm a little bit biased. I have to say, I wasn't expecting this section of the walk to be so nice. I'm just coming down to Loch Treig here, and we've got the Ossians in the background, the Munros, and it just looks like a painting. It's just really beautiful in a way that I wasn't expecting. I passed by the south end of Loch Treig, and soon I was crossing a bridge into the upper reaches of what would eventually become Glen Nevis. Despite a few signs of life, this felt like one of the most remote spots on the journey. The heat of the day was getting to me, and I started to look out for a place to cool off. Okay, that's day 2 over. That's been 21 miles in about 8 hours. It always feels just 1 or 2 miles too long. But we're here. This is Menach Bothy, and that's going to be home for tonight. Okay, looks like it's just me so far. There is a sleeping bag hanging up in there, so I'm not sure if there's someone round in the area, but might just be here myself tonight. Alright, good morning. It's the last day on the trail, day 3, and we're going to be heading down Glen Nevis today. I had a really good night in the bothy, slept for about 9 hours. I had the place to myself, so it was a really nice bothy. Yeah, today we're just heading all the way down Glen Nevis until we get back to the road. The upper reaches of the glen where we are now is a little bit wilder. Paths are a wee bit intermittent. Coming in yesterday, there was a lot of boggy grassland that I was just kind of hacking my way through. But today I'm going to cross over the river here and get back onto a track, and then we're just heading through the mountains towards Steel Meadows. I'll tell you a wee bit more about that as we go along. Job number 1 is to get through these bogs and get across this river. So the mountains we can see here are the Grey Corries on the right, and then moving on we've got Anachbeg and Anachmore with the snow there, Cairngorms National, and then just poking out in the far distance is Ben Nevis. There's something freeing about getting wet feet right at the start of the day, because when you come to puddles, after that you can just plough through, you don't care. Been going for about an hour and a half now. Thought I'd just take a wee break. I've only covered about 3.5 miles because it's quite rough going again. Very boggy and lots of river crossings and boggy bits where you're getting your feet wet. So the food situation's getting a bit slim now, but I've kept some Haribo back for the last day. So I'm going to eat some of them, just enjoy the scenery here in Glen Nevis. The next section we're going to be heading down to is towards Steel Meadows, which I think is one of the most beautiful places in the Highlands, full stop. So I'm looking forward to getting down there. It's kind of a local spot to me. I go down there fairly often, but literally sitting with my feet in a bog at the moment. But I'm just going to get some food down and then we'll crack on. shit, someone's blocked the path. Okay, we've made it to Steel Meadows, and for my money this is one of the highlights of the whole route. So behind me we've got Steel Falls. Yeah, I think this is just one of the most beautiful places in the whole of Scotland really. And in fact the section of trail we're on from the meadows here through to Steel Gorge, where we're heading now, has been called the best half mile in Scotland. And on a day like today, I don't think there's any argument. It's a bit of a shock to the system to see so many people. I think the route that I've been on really doesn't get much foot traffic. So all of a sudden we're in Steel Meadows, and it's not slammed by any means, but yeah, so a fair few people out enjoying it today. Made it back to the road. So what started over in the A9 at Dalwhinnie 3 days ago has now led me to the outskirts of Fort William. Bit of a shorter last day, but I hope you'll agree that was a spectacular end to the trip, coming along Glen Nevis into Steel Meadows and through Steel Gorge. It's just stunning, and the weather's been really good to us. But that's me back at the edge of Fort William. I'm going to jump on a bus now into the centre of town. If you've watched this far, thanks very much. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you on the next one.